crazy JP Morgan analyst came out and put a buy on it at $41. So take that as you will. What is going on, guys? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope we are going to cover something that you find interesting. And if we do, please consider smashing the like button and dropping a sub. It's going to help me out, but it's also going to enter you into win an Amazon gift card once we get to 250 subscribers. So let's get into the news. So I want to briefly talk about Nikola Motors and just a quick little update. So an analyst from JP Morgan came out and basically said that he thinks that the stock is a buy right now and put a target price on it of $41, but he does throw up some caution and basically red flags. The thing that he highlights that he liked was Nikola's presentation, essentially what they plan to do with hydrogen. And I think if you're excited about Nikola, that is probably the only thing that you're really banking on or hoping for is a hydrogen like network and what they're really saying. To me, I'm like, dude, how are you getting to $41 right now with all the question marks and everything that's going on? He goes on to say in the article or his analysis, he doesn't think that they're going to be making any money or anything until 2022, which, okay, I can totally agree with that. But he has them going from like essentially nothing to like $10 billion. And then I don't like explain that jump. I don't get it. So the other thing you have to remember is analysts sometimes who do ratings like this, they're not necessarily specific to a sector. So he may not be super knowledgeable of, the energy sector. I know I'm not overly familiar with the energy sector. I owned Ford for the longest time, so I did follow things that were going on with Ford and just different initiatives and green initiatives. And then you had the automotive bailout back in the financial crisis recession that we had back in 2008, 2009. But aside from that, I'm just a bystander like a lot of you guys, looking on and just looking at basically the fundamentals and everything that is going on, essentially shady that is behind closed doors that we probably don't even know about. So that is the update for Nikola. Crazy JP Morgan analyst came out and put a buy on it at $41. So take that as you will. The other thing that I need to talk about, and I'm super excited because I own shares of Disney. I picked up shares of Disney back in March when they were extremely low. So it makes me very happy to say that they are beginning, and they announced that they are going to be migrating away from basically focusing their whole business model on like theme parks and merchandise and stuff like that. Rather, they're going to be shifting focus and reorganizing and restructuring their business model to focus on content streaming. Now, this is big because we have seen the explosion of Netflix, Amazon like Prime, but obviously you have Amazon Video and all that stuff that comes along with that. Apple's getting into TV. So if Disney wants to keep up with the times, compete with Netflix, and essentially, put movie theaters out of business for good, they need to be ahead of the curve on the video streaming stuff. And with shows like The Mandalorian, and then you've got a lot of the Marvel TV shows coming out, these are going to be really positive things that are going to drive new subscribers and growth to the Disney platform. But if everyone at Disney can get behind and say, okay, this is the business model we want to pursue, they're going to be pumping out a lot more new content, which is going to be awesome because it's not just going to be one show here, one show there, kind of like The Mandalorian. Like really, The Mandalorian is Disney's show right now, but if you think about it, that is maybe like you get 10 episodes one time a year. So that's not really driving a bunch of people to the platform, whereas Netflix, you have, Netflix original after Netflix original after Netflix original. But if you remember in the beginning, Netflix was very sparse. They only produced original content a couple times a year, and then as they got into it a few years down the line, that's now when you're seeing this crazy record pace, and that's why Netflix is taking off the way it is, and that's why it has so many millions of subscribers. So I think that this is a super positive move for Disney. That is why you were seeing the stock absolutely take off today. Investors are loving it. They're realizing that, Disney's current business model of theme parks, obviously that's not going real well because of coronavirus. Their current, monetization model of how they produce a movie and it goes releases in the movie theater and it does, $1 billion or, $3 billion in the case of like Avengers Endgame. That is only good so long as movie theaters are open and so long as people are willing to go to movie theaters. And if coronavirus has taught us anything, it's that people are more willing to stay home and just sit out and binge and watch Netflix or stream TV, or, wait a couple of months for that movie that they've been wanting to see comes out. So obviously, I think they have some tweaking to do. Mulan was not the hit that everybody thought it was going to be. It did pretty poorly, actually, on Disney Plus, and I think this is two reasons. I think they kind of misjudged the hype for Mulan in general. Maybe, people just really weren't interested in that title. It didn't perform as well in China as they thought it would either, so that's also interesting. The other thing is, they were charging $30 for this thing, and I was like, this is either a 1,000 IQ big brain move, or this is absolutely bonehead, because who's going to pay $30 for something that they know is coming to the platform for free in December if you just are patient and wait and whatever, because people are already paying $60 for a subscription. So Mulan didn't do great. I would love to see them kind of follow tune with that and start releasing more movies and originals and stuff like that, but not charge such a crazy premium. Maybe increase the monthly, fee that they're asking for, and produce some more Marvel and more Star Wars original content. That would be absolutely amazing. So that is it for Disney. And the last thing we need to talk about is Apple. So Apple, right? Everybody knows story about Apple, right? They back in the summer, they announced that they were going to do a 4-to-1 stock split, and their stock took off, and it, along with Tesla, just kept climbing. Stock splits, climbs all the way up to $137, and then boom, you had some concerns about another recession, or not a recession, but another closing of the economy and stuff like that. And then people were like, okay, yeah, Apple really is way too bought up. You had money coming out of big tech bubble, all this sort of stuff, all sorts of concerns, and Apple broke back down all the way to I think it was $105 at the low. Now, why people also freaked out is because the iPhone, they had delayed their iPhone event, and if you all seriously think Apple is not going to release an iPhone, you're crazy. Like, at most, they were going to delay this thing a month or two. So for investors to freak out about that doesn't really make much sense, because that's Apple's cash cow. I understand it's delayed a month or two, not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And for them to shift back to like services and streaming and content like that, and like healthcare, that is where Apple's future is going to be, because iPhone sales, the market is already so saturated. Like, pretty much the only people they're not going to be getting a bunch of new consumers on iPhones. They're going to be getting people who are just upgrading iPhones and stuff like that. So the growth for them isn't necessarily in the iPhone business, it's just a steady cash cow. So the stock the analysts, for whatever reason, didn't really like that. Apple hasn't really been bought up because, people have been freaking out about big tech, but that's okay, because yesterday, right, they announced iPhone 12 event, and the stock absolutely takes off. So it seems like Apple is back to the races as far as I'm concerned. If you're thinking about investing in Apple, I've got a couple things to say to you. A, it is never a bad time to invest and buy in Apple if you are a long-term investor. If you are a short-term investor looking for a deal, I do think that Apple probably has a little bit of room to pull back. But it's like one of those things where it's like, do you really want to be that picky and squabble over, a few percent here and there? If you were truly holding for the long term, if it's something super short term, I think that, coming into the election, we're going to have a bunch of political risk. I think the potential for maybe a, 10% pullback is definitely there. Who knows how contentious this thing is going to get, is either candidate going to concede? How long is this going to go? Is it going to go to the Supreme Court? Like, is it going to be months before we find out? Because if that is the case, you're going to see a big pullback in the overall market. So just had to say that about Apple as well as Disney. And then obviously we got the Nikola update. So if you found that bit of information informative and you felt like I earned a like, please consider doing so. It helps the algorithm and it helps me out. And before we go, got to hit you guys with today's fun fact. Today in history, the first cornerstone of the White House was laid. Pretty interesting. It blows my mind to think that building is like 200 years old. The fact that the building is so old. I know that renovations are amazing, and I know that magic can be done as far as like carpenters and building and stuff like that, but I think it is absolutely insane that building is still standing, and people who, are, well, like Donald Trump, for example, like, who are excited to live there, even though I'm sure the amenities are great, but the fact that the building is 200 years old, it's like, wow, how is it still standing? So that is just a little nugget of fun fact fandom for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, please drop a sub, leave a like, stop by tomorrow because we're going to be dropping some more content on you guys. I hope you have a great day.